Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rent Prep for Landlords. This is episode number 256. I'm your host, Eric Worrell. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about a couple recent news stories. The most interesting, at least in my opinion, is that college kids are living like kings in Vancouver's empty mansions. Yeah, Vancouver, Canada. This is a really interesting story out of Bloomberg. We also have some quick content we're going to cover on the Sacramento landlord that's offering free rent to promising companies, and possibly somebody who's getting their due. They're getting a little karma sent back to them, and they owe their landlord a lot of money. We're going to get into that as well. But we're going to get into all that right after this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Rent Prep for Landlords podcast. And now your hosts, Stephen White and Eric Worrell.
First off, I want to say thank you. I know a lot of you that listen to the podcast are also subscribers of our newsletter. And actually today, as I'm recording this on April 23rd on a Tuesday. Our newsletter went out a few hours ago, and we brought up a story of Kevin Valencia, Officer Kevin Valencia, who we talked about on the podcast last week. And he was injured responding to a hostage situation at an apartment complex. And the more I read about that article, because I read up on it further after the podcast last week, the more upsetting and sad the story was. So pretty cool thing. Steve and Lauren and the Rent Prep team here agreed to do a $500 donation towards his GoFundMe page, which you can find on the notes from last week's episode. If you go to our website and look up episode number 255, you can also go to GoFundMe.com and look up Kevin Valencia, wounded hero. But anyone who donates to that cause, to that GoFundMe page, if you put a 2X next to your name, it'll signify to us that you guys heard about this message from Rent Prep, and we are willing to match any donations up to $2,000 as well. So trying to get the community kind of involved in this between the Facebook group, the podcast, our newsletter, and it's just been really awesome to see. Just in the last couple hours, I'm seeing donations coming in from $20 to $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000. It's incredible to see. Thank you guys so much. If you're somebody who had donated to this cause, if you're still looking to donate, again, go to GoFundMe.com and search for Kevin Valencia, Wounded Hero, or you can go to the Rent Prep Podcast, episode 255. I also include it in the show notes today for this episode. Go and check that out. It's somebody whose family could really use that support. So can't stress that enough. If you guys are moved by that and understand that this guy was putting himself in the line of duty, and his family's lives are severely impacted because of that. And it's because of a tenant that probably shouldn't have been in that rental property to begin with. So, but that's not what today's episode is about, but I just wanted to make mention of that and say thank you. And also say thank you if you're thinking about doing it, do it. It's a good cause. So we've got a couple quick articles I want to cover here. First one comes from sacb.com. So the Sacramento Bee. It comes from Bob Shallett. And the title of this one says, Sacramento landlord offers free rent to promising companies. So it says, in what is likely a regional first, one of the area's largest property owners is offering free rent to promising small businesses as a way to stimulate local job growth. Ethan Conrad, whose company owns more than 5 million square feet of Sacramento area office, retail, and industrial space, is awarding the rent credits to 3 companies that will be selected in the first annual competition his firm is holding over the next 5 months. He said that they really want to support Sacramento business growth, so they're holding this competition. And they said it's not really gauged towards like startups, but more so towards businesses with a successful track record, revenues of over 100,000, and annual growth rates of at least 20%. So I thought this was a pretty cool story coming out of Sacramento. The landlord's doing this. You know, he's got probably some vacant rental properties, commercial rental properties, I should say, and he's putting them to good use. So I thought that was a pretty cool story. I know it's pretty easy to focus on bad landlord stories. There's a lot of them out there. Those are the ones that get a lot of press, right? But there's a lot of cool stuff going out there. So props to Mr. Ethan Conrad for putting that together. The name of the program, let me find it here. He said you can apply through the company's website, ethanconradprop.com. Deadline is by August 31st. So if you're thinking about moving a business around and you want to apply for that, and you're cool with living in Sacramento, go and check that out. So yeah, props to Ethan Conrad, prop.com. And this next story, I kind of debated on whether or not I wanted to include this, but it did kind of come up when I was searching landlord news. This one is about R. Kelly. I know that's a name right there that comes with a lot of baggage. But it said that right now that he is down to about $625 to his name. And one of the reasons for that is that he was sued by his landlord of his Chicago studio. So it said that he hadn't paid $200,000 in back rent, and the landlord won the case, and $173,000 was seized from some of Kelly's various accounts. Subpoenas were also issued to Sony, Kelly's former record label, as well as American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers to help obtain the rest of the money. So I don't know. I feel like that's just some karma coming back to bite you. And again, I chalk this one up to a landlord doing a good deed for humanity. So we're 2 for 2 on that one. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Another thing I did not know is that his full name is Robert Sylvester Kelly. I wouldn't have guessed Sylvester. That's an interesting middle name. So there, you probably learned something new today right there. But let's move on from that scumbag, and we will go into the Bloomberg article, which I really wanted to talk about, which is the focus of today's podcast. The title of this article is that college kids are living like kings in Vancouver's empty mansions. And then it says that globetrotting landlords can avoid vacancy taxes by renting. It's the latest twist for a housing market down 8.5% from its peak. So this article comes from Natalie Wong and Natalie Obiko-Pearson. It was published on April 16th to Bloomberg. And the image that they show of this, and when I say mansion, these are mansions. Like, it is gorgeous. It looks like something out of like Alice in Wonderland or something in the article. And we'll link to that, of course. You got to look at the front doors and the windows. I'm assuming this is probably up on a hill, how many windows are facing the person taking the picture. But these the front doors are just like, I'll dare say, majestic. But getting into the article, it said that Isaiah Boudou, is 22, thought it was a complete hoax when he saw a rental listing on Facebook for a bedroom in a Vancouver mansion for only $1,100 Canadian a month. And if you do the math, that's $825 US. He said it turned out the glass chandeliers, luxurious blue drapes, steam room, and billiards table were for real. The 9-bedroom home, dubbed the Castle by the 14 students who share the property, is apparently owned by an Afghani pop artist, according to Boudou. Honestly, I would stay here for as long as I could, he said, sitting on a white couch while sipping from a Slurpee cup. I love that line right there, while sipping from a Slurpee cup. The author added that to be like, no, this kid is like a college kid with no money. He's drinking a 7-Eleven Slurpee. But he said that $1,000 for all this. This is a really interesting story. It says that this is kind of common in Vancouver right now because the city started to put a tax on empty homes. And with the Vancouver's housing market, it said that there's all of these luxury homes that are kind of vacant. So they're just starting to rent them out to students for really cheap because they would make more money renting it out on the cheap than they would having it vacant and getting hit in these taxes. So it said that the housing market is a far cry from where it was a few years ago. It said that prices more than doubled in the decade through 2016, outpacing gains in New York and London. But government policies to tame the market, from new taxes to stricter mortgage regulations, have fueled a plunge in sales. So that's kind of interesting, right? Because I know we talk about that sometimes where some markets are doing rent control or they're thinking about doing stuff with mortgage regulations. And you can see how this is a case in Vancouver, Canada, that, and I keep correcting myself, kind of pausing, like it's British Columbia, right? Vancouver, BC, Canada. I never know how to say that because like, I wouldn't say I'm from Buffalo, New York, USA. I might say I'm from Buffalo, USA. I guess I would say Buffalo, New York. So I guess it's Vancouver, British Columbia, Vancouver, BC, Canada. Maybe we got a listener from out there who can shoot me an email and tell me I'm an idiot. But anywho, we're going to continue with the article. It's saying that the prices are down 8.5% from their peak just in last June, according to the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. So these lucky renters are getting these absolute mansions for super cheap. It says that right now you have houses that are worth about 4 million Canadian renting for 4,500 Canadian. That's pretty crazy right there. Again, another image that is just gorgeous. It's like this insane skylight. And to call it a skylight is a complete exaggeration. It is like this room that has floor to ceiling, probably 25 feet, 30 feet, just glass windows everywhere. And at the top is a dome that you think would be maybe in a museum with this gorgeous chandelier and these, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And it said that prospective tenants are getting bold, said Kevin Wang, who runs a sales and rental real estate team with his twin brother Jerry. They've received calls from people offering to help with gardening or maintenance in exchange for free rent in a luxury home. Oh my God, it's amazing. I love it. Why not, right? You can't even fault a renter, because I know half of the people listening to this have lowballed the hell out of somebody on a offer on a property, right? They're asking for 100 and you're like, well, we'll see if they'll take 30. So you can't blame the renter that wants to live in a luxury mansion for doing some gardening. Something tells me, though, the person who made that offer, they probably aren't going to go and like give $1,000 worth of gardening effort. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're, some guru gardener, but I'm going to guess that they're probably going to pull a few weeds and then talk about this story the rest of their lives, that time they lived in that mansion for pulling a few weeds. So going a little bit further in the article, it's just kind of talking about the fact that early last year that this home that they're referencing in the article would have sold for about $8.5 million, holes in the wall and all, and that today the 28-year-old realtor isn't sure she'll get a credible offer for the 8,343 square foot mansion. Now that's interesting. Why is it square feet if this is a Canadian? Everything's like been in Canadian money. I would have thought maybe it would have been like square meters. I'm not even sure how Canada does that, to be honest. I'm pretty uneducated when it comes to that. But it says that these days a pool, wine cellar, and home theater on a prime lot aren't enough to clinch a deal, even in West Vancouver, where opulent homes carved out of steep slopes overlook the ocean. I really like that sentence there. So it says that there's another house here listed at $10.9 million, but after receiving mostly lowball offers, yeah, that's you guys, right? Closer to its tax assessed value of $6.2 million Canadian, she's planning on dropping the price. Like, this article is worth checking out just for the pictures. It is incredible. Check that out. Again, you can find all of these articles in the show notes for episode 256. You go to rentprep.com, click on resources. You'll find podcasts underneath that menu, and you can find all of our podcasts, including last week's. I'll try to include a link to in this week's episode to that GoFundMe page. Even if you're listening to this, 3, 4, or 5 months from now, I'm sure that GoFundMe page will still be up. It's been around for about 10 months. Again, that officer has been in a hospital for the last 10 months. So again, take the time. If you're thinking about doing it, do it. Make a donation. I'm sure his family will appreciate it. His young children will appreciate that support. I don't know if he's going to be dealing with a traumatic brain injury for years to come or what the outcomes will be, but that's a pretty scary situation to be in. So you can help a wounded police officer who was responding to a call that involved a violent tenant and do a little bit of good in the world, share the love with his family. So thank you guys for listening. Again, you can get all the resources on the website at rentprep.com. And until next week, guys, take care and have a great rest of your week.